So homelessness, when we think about homelessness, we're really talking about a condition that people are living in where they lack access to permanent housing, affordable housing, adequate housing, that is really able to meet their needs. And that includes specifically the need for safety and the need for security. So when we talk about homelessness, we're often talking about a continuum. So for many of you, you might think about homelessness and think about someone you see on the street. That's kind of one end of the continuum. That would be unsheltered homelessness, so folks who are sleeping rough. But then the continuum goes all the way to folks who are at risk of homelessness. So people who are living in core housing need, or maybe couch surfing. But then we're also including in there folks who are living in shelters or living in transitional housing, other kinds of housing where you don't have a security of tenure, you're not able to stay there permanently. So homelessness really is, we need to think about it as that continuum. And in the Canadian context, it's really critical that we understand what this looks like for Indigenous folks. So a wonderful colleague of mine, Jesse Thistle, developed the definition of Indigenous homelessness in Canada. And that really articulates an understanding of homelessness as something that is inseparable from colonization and its ongoing impacts on Indigenous folks across the country. So what's really beautiful about this definition is it talks about the 12 dimensions of Indigenous homelessness and the need to think about it as more than a roof over one's head, but as linked to a dislocation from what is articulated as all my relations. So that's family, community, but also separation from land, from animals, from ways of being and knowing in the world. So when we're thinking about homelessness in Canada and what it means, we have this kind of 4-part typology that the Canadian Observatory on Homelessness developed. And then we also have this really beautiful definition of Indigenous homelessness in Canada. And then the last thing I would add is that it's really critical we understand homelessness not just as a condition that people live in, but also a human rights violation. So in Canada in 2019, we adopted the National Housing Strategy Act. And what that does is really say that by virtue of being a human being, we believe you have the right to housing, and that belief, that value is what needs to drive all policy, all housing policy across the country. And this has been acknowledged in a whole range of United Nations treaties and declarations that Canada has signed on to. So in Canada, we do have the right to housing. Homelessness is a gross violation of that right. And we're in a moment historically where we're trying to articulate what that looks like on the ground. But it is a key element in understanding what homelessness is.